Two things I think are most important, I would gather, and you mentioned at least one of them, and even the second. The first one is how to get information to all the veterans, not just in your area, but everywhere else. The second one is the standard of care, that it's consistent in the quality that everyone gets. Yeah. And so it was a bit disconcerting to hear Tammy Duckworth's testimony on the Senate side, where she made it very clear that the care being provided in the Walter Reed and other places was of a higher quality than the VA, to her exposure, not just as an amputee, but for the organization she heads in her state. My question, from the first of my questions are, you have several standards of quality. I mean, we have over 600 good contractors out there. But how do we ensure this standard? You mentioned several of them, the ABC and the BOC, but the ABC is felt to be a higher and more quality of care. Why do we have two standards then? Then you have another standard called as I remember, the National Commission on Prosthetic and Orthotic Education, if you want to work with universities, and you're starting to go out that way yourself with this agreement you've just had, and then you have your own guidelines. Do you think we need to step back here and have one standard quality of care unique to the veteran, that we can all kind of accept?
Well, sir, let me answer that for you. American Board of Certification is the oldest certified body that I know of in America. And so...
Yes, sir. Just because the chairman will cut me off shortly because I'm a freshman.
Sorry.
Should we have one standard is really my question. There's four right now you're kind of using.
No, not really. There are only two certification bodies for process and orthos, and that's ABC and BOC. And BOC is the newest one. I think it came into, we accepted them as a certifying body, and I forget when it was, the late 80s, early 90s. But they, in the world of accreditation, they meet those requirements to be an accrediting body. So our general counsel tells us that we have to accept them because ABC or BOC, they're both verified by accrediting bodies. And those are the two requirements.
If I could, sir, I understand that, but why don't you use some system like your VA DoD clinical practice guideline for rehabilitation of lower limb amputation? I've gone through it. It's fairly vague in some areas, but why not? Why do I know somebody's telling us we have to use it, but is it the best when we have two different sets of criteria out there?
Yeah, the ABC is the best. And
should everybody be required to do ABC then? Because it's the best.
I say this, ABC and BOC are the best. In fact, they're the only certifying bodies for us in the area of process and orthos. So they have education programs, requirements, and continuing education programs. So those are the best. There's no problem there. Going back to Tammy and her disillusionment with the VA.
If you don't mind, I could come back to that maybe in the second round.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just struck by her testimony and then diving into the different accreditations. If I could, how do we ensure that all these small companies ensure that what is the standard we go by to ensure every small company will give the same type of access to all the technologies that prevail out there? And you mentioned a number of them. You know, one you mentioned specifically was early on was a microprocessor controlled knee.
Yes.
How do we ensure that every one of those has access to the technology? Do we, and how do we do it?
Well, this is part of the certification process. So, for instance, a company may be certified by ABC or BOC. So that means they've met certain education requirements and length of time and training and experience. A new technology comes out like the C-leg, and so that manufacturer says, here is a criteria that you must be trained on as a process before you're going to be allowed to fit this, because the company doesn't want the...
But then why do you waive companies from being accredited and give contracts to them? you have underneath your Veterans Administration solicitation 26888, you actually say, hey, we'll accept proposals from those offers who have not been able to complete their accreditation in the ABC and BOD. I'm happy to give you a copy of it. So my question is, why have we actually solicited? It's because my concern keeps going back to what is the standard for consistency, particularly when we are offering contracts out there without the accreditation being done by these companies?
Well, sir, the guarantee of quality is a certification process. I'm not familiar with that instrument you're reading there, but
I'll give it to the staff here. I should end. I'm over my time. I understand. My background in the military has always made me concerned when there's two sets of standards or more. And my concern really comes of seeing now there's a little leakage here where we're letting some of these companies maybe be accredited before they are.
No.
I love small business, but I want to make sure the care for the veteran is number one and consistent across the nation. Thank you.
Yes. The only reference I can make to that without seeing the document is that by the time the contract's signed, they must be certified. They must meet certification of ABC or BOC, because it is our policy that you must be certified.
Sir, it says in the contract award that 6 months after the award, they could become certified.
Okay. Well, maybe someone has changed the contract without us knowing it at a particular facility, because I can guarantee you that that's not something that we would accept.
Thank you.
And in the medical area, there are often more than one certification or more than one certifying body, an accreditation process. It'd be easier for me if everything was simple like that, I'll guarantee you. I will say that. But it would be easier for all of us in the government if there was just one set of criteria on something like that. But
I didn't understand all this.
The